Hi everyone, welcome to Firefighter Gentrifier Neighborhood Segregation in Chicago. Throughout this presentation video, you will be viewing final presentations done by our College Connect 2021 group members.
So over the course of the summer, we worked on a project where the students will be profiling a neighborhood in Chicago, and then particularly a neighborhood that has undergone racial change in the last 150 years. Through their research, they were to emphasize sociological and historical themes by viewing the neighborhood in a scope to see why it's changed over time. I hope you guys enjoy our students' presentations. We know that they put in a lot of hard work and we're so excited to see what they have to present for you.
Hello, so this is our first group for today. Sorry about that, I was having technical issues. But today we are going to profile Humboldt Park. And we're specifically going to talk about the history of Humboldt Park and how it has changed over the past years. And yeah, hope you enjoy.
Hi, my name is Aixa and I live in Little Village. Humboldt Park became part of Chicago in 1869 and was named after naturalist Alexander von Humboldt. After the Great Chicago Fire, settlement and development grew the prairie marsh into 2 flat houses, brick bungalows, and small apartment buildings. During the 1920s and 1930s, large numbers of Germans, Russian Jews, and Italians moved in along with other nationalities, including Polish, Scandinavians, and Ukrainians. By 1930s and 40s, the population grew to 80,000 residents, this being the highest number of residents living in Humboldt Park. In the mid-1950s, Humboldt Park then grew to include Puerto Ricans who moved in from the West Town and other places east. On June 12, 1966, the first of 2 riots occurred in the community. They were in response to a Chicago police officer that shot and wounded a young Puerto Rican man. These were known as the 66 Division Street riots, which lasted for 3 days. By 2000, Latinos were 48% of the population and half were from Mexican origin, and the Black population has increased to match the Latino population.
Hi, my name is Makiwa Bird. I live in Calumet Park, and today I will be discussing the demographics of Humboldt Park. Humboldt Park was originally the heart of the Puerto Rican community until the 1980s. The Puerto Rican population began to decrease because of gentrification. The government wanted to transform Humboldt Park into a more welcoming community. By this, the government started building newer and bigger apartments, which was to attract more Jews and whites. So the government basically created a plan to raise property taxes significantly by forcing the Puerto Ricans to move somewhere else they could afford. So yeah, that's why they build newer and bigger houses for the whites. After this, there was the 1966 riots, which caused many whites and Jews to flee Humboldt Park. By 2000, Latinos were 48% of the population and half were Mexican origin. And then as you can see to the right, there's a chart. And this chart is a more recent picture of the demographics, and it's basically showing how like Hispanics are not majority of the population in Humboldt Park because of white flights. And this caused the white population to go from 50 to 8.9%.
Hi, my name is Kendall Jack. I live in Evanston, and yeah. So the average income from 2006 to 2010 was $34,772, and it went up from 2015 to 2019, which is $39,492. The residents who live in Humboldt Park mainly work in healthcare. Healthcare actually had like the highest amount out of all the 5 or 6 that were listed, but they mainly work in healthcare, accommodation and food services, retail trade, administration, and manufacturing. So this goes from nursing, like healthcare aides, waiters, cashiers, receptionists, and woodworkers, and yeah. And then from 2015 to 2019, 11.5% of the people who live in Humboldt Park are unemployed, and 34.5% are not in the labor force. This basically means that they do not have a job and they aren't actively looking for one right now. And when these numbers are compared to like the rest of Chicago, it actually takes up like a really small percentage. So if you were to just take away Humboldt Park's numbers, it wouldn't make a difference with Chicago's percentages. The average sale for a house right now is $450,000. From the years 2017 and 2021, the prices have slowly gone up. 37.5% of the people in Humboldt Park own their own houses. And from 2017 to 2020, 10.5% of the houses in Humboldt Park have been depreciated, meaning that their values have went down. And only a few houses have went up. Their values have went up. In between 2017 and 2018, the prices were higher, but after 2018, it dropped a really big amount, and it stayed like that up until now.
So Humboldt Park has always been a predominantly Latinx community for years, and Puerto Ricans especially have strongly identified with the area. And with that, it came its own issues with a lot of gang violence, families receiving food stamps and accessing emergency food, and little to no resources. We actually have seen a lot of schools close down in Humboldt Park because they're not getting enough funds, and 4 specifically have been taken down because of CPS. And we also have seen a huge difference in the demographic. And what was 28% Puerto Ricans throughout Humboldt Park is now 45.12% white in the east side of Humboldt Park. Gentrification has negatively impacted the community because of what was predominant Latinx, with affordable housing is now becoming a white neighborhood with prices going up to the second.
I'm Luke from Lincoln Park. Humboldt Park is located on the Upper West Side of Chicago, situated between south of Logan Square and north of Garfield Park. Its boundaries include the 606 or Bloomingdale Trail to the north, train tracks along the west near Cicero and Union Pacific Railroad to the south, Humboldt Park itself or California to the east. Along with Humboldt Park, there are around 10 parks scattered throughout the neighborhood. It consists of mostly multi-family residences, thus made up of larger buildings with housing for more families and single-family residences. There are many bus stops along Division, and there are a few train stations scattered about. There are a few public schools to the north, while there are charter schools concentrated towards the south. There are 2 hospitals in Humboldt Park. One is right under the actual park, Humboldt Park, and the other is closer to Garfield Park. These provide a lot of the jobs, as Kendall was saying. There are also some commercial areas concentrated around the bigger streets like Grand. You can see on that map that there's some little like bits of white along those bigger streets. Yeah.
And that's the end of our presentation. I hope you enjoyed.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name's Jerry Menes. I come from Portage Park, I believe.
Hi, I'm Jocelyn Praxedis, and I'm from a suburb called Hanover Park.
Hi, I'm Danya Gavari, and I'm from Oak Park.
Hi, I'm Miriam Amakudi, and I'm from Dunning.
All right. We did our presentation on also Humboldt Park, but it's slightly different. We should be good. All right. So let's just give a brief introduction. The history of Humboldt Park is just like, it's located on the west side of Chicago. It's we chose this topic because it's a really gentrifying neighborhood. It's known for its demographic change, which is probably because of gentrification, and the green space land, because it's just like a big city and then there's just like green land. So good choice. It's home to many Puerto Ricans since the 1970s. Also, there was a migration from New York, but the population started rising on the 1970s. So when they moved to Chicago, they later relocated into Humboldt Park. Um, because of gentrification, many Puerto Ricans have been trying to fight it. And like we saw on our course, Paseo Boricua, it's a form of fighting gentrifiers because it shows that you're going to stay there for a while. But what I found a little sad is that many believe that gentrification was a good help um, towards the neighborhood because it contributed to like putting away gangs and bringing a better economy. Um, so the race and ethnicity, at first, like before, it was Hispanic, but now that the gentrification it's happening and all of that, now white's the dominant. And Puerto Ricans are like being removed out of the area. The main reason for this is because of the high house income. And although it's that the main reason, also healthcare and the education system have a lot to do.
Okay, the next topic is housing. Most households in this area are families, which most likely leads to overcrowding in housing and probably higher utility bills, which this takes away from other resources like education or food. The majority of the homes are not modern. In fact, a lot of them were built in 1939 or earlier. So possibly many of these homes are not kept up with or recently renovated, which it does affect their selling value because it'll be harder to sell if like a house doesn't seem to be that like good in condition. Many residents live with mortgages. However, these mortgages are being used to create and profit, to create profit and revenue at the expense of Black and Brown residents of Humboldt Park. The people who make the most amount of money age from 25 to 24. People who have the lowest income are over 65. So as you can see, like in this bottom left picture, many locals, residents want to create an affordable living house for older people. The elderly community actually faces rising rents and they do not have many options in the rental market. Locals keep pushing for this building, but city official Roberto Maldonado refuses to listen to them. This just shows how the people in Humboldt Park are not truly listened to. Also, it also emphasizes generational disadvantage and wealth, considering the age group being mostly parents and caregivers, and their children are at the same disadvantage. Affordable housing is not the only issue. Locals still have to deal with overcrowded units, and with new developments being built in high poverty areas, this is an attempt to keep people of color from moving to white neighborhoods. On top of that, since many people believe affordable housing is the solution to everything, there has been slight retaliation. Many possible buyers in this area are shown less units and are called backless for like potential buying. And even if they do find a place, there are higher fees.
Education in Humboldt Park. So I decided to focus on a high school that I guess gets talked a lot about in Humboldt Park. And I decided to choose Roberto Clemente High School. And this school is far below the state average in key measures of college and career readiness. The four-year graduation rate is 84% compared to the state average, which is 86%. The average ACT score would be 15 compared to the state average, which is 21. The average SAT score is 821, while the state is 994. And I guess something that's like really important is just to recognize how many of the numbers that I would be listing are way under the state average. The percent of students in dual enrollment classes are less than 1% compared to the 10% in the state average. And the percentage of students enrolled in IB is 7%. And in Clemente specifically, 16% of students are homeless compared to the state, which is only 2%. And so the Clemente is majority, the students are Hispanic, 68.5%, and 27.6% are Black students, and 2.1% are white students. And less than one is in the quote unquote other section. And 88% of students are low income students. And something I found really interesting about Clemente is that 51% of the students, of the teachers are white, while 20.45 are Black and 20.9 are Hispanic. And I found this really interesting because coming from like a personal experience, having a white teacher try to teach current events that regard to people of color, just kind of, it kind of just ruins that, like, I guess it kind of just ruins that event and kind of just makes it seem like the teacher's trying to empathize with you. Whereas if a teacher of color was trying to teach students of color how they could speak more of like from a personal point of view. And I feel like it's just really interesting how the majority of the students are people of color and how the majority of the teachers are white. So this is something that I found super interesting. It was a climate survey that was basically, it's all district schools are required to participate in the survey of learning conditions annually. And so this is from, all this information is from 2020 and 2019. And so in Clemente, the effective leaders kind of just like principals and teachers implementing a vision for success. It is labeled as less implementation, which means that kind of the fact of what we were talking about how students of color are being taught to be followers rather than leaders. I think this is like a great evidence. This is great evidence of what like we were talking about. Collaborative teachers, like do the teachers like try to engage the students in class? That is on average implementation. Supportive environment, like do the students feel safe? Is it like a safe environment? That is also on average. Ambitious instructors, kind of like do the classes, are the classes challenging enough for the students? That's also average. And involve families, like is there like a connection that you see like kind of between families and the school? And that's also on average, which I feel like if we looked at a more white suburban rich high school, you would find that a majority of these would be more implementation and most implementation.
All right, today I will be talking about community health in Humboldt Park. Humboldt Park is definitely an underserved community when it comes to the health and well-being of its residents. There seems to be no rush to make it better either. Typically in an underserved community, we don't see accessible or affordable grocery stores compared to the richer and more privileged communities. Even with 49% of Humboldt Park residents receiving food benefits such as food stamps and 30% of the residents accessing emergency foods such as the food pantry or soup kitchen, 46 of the households are still food insecure compared to the average of 13% of households in the US as a whole. With a poor selection of food and when they lack healthy food options, the percentages of obesity in Humboldt Park are only increasing. In 2009, 36% of the residents were considered obese. And now in 2021, 47% of adults in Humboldt Park are obese. In a decade, that number has increased by over 10%. In retrospect, that is a lot of people and shouldn't be tolerated any longer. In addition, cancer and heart disease are the leading causes of death in Humboldt Park, and that has a lot to do with what these residents consume on a daily basis. Another big problem in this community is a lack of insured residents. In 2013, at least 27% of the population in Humboldt Park were uninsured, leading to 1 in 5 people refusing to go to the doctor because of the cost. This is very upsetting because money shouldn't define how much or the quality of healthcare you should be receiving, and the price should not be a variable of whether or not you receive the proper medical care. Either way, 13% of insured residents can't find providers that accept their insurance, and altogether there is a lack of primary providers in the community. In addition, there is a lack of facilities and resources for mental health. Many of the men in the community suffer from PTSD and tend to, quote, hold it in. A lot of people in the community aren't open to talk about their mental health because it's considered a taboo subject. A lot of people living in Humboldt Park have the mentality that PTSD only happens to veterans, which is very unfair to all the people that do have PTSD and are non-veterans and are still suffering from it. Many have spoken out to say that they need more accessible mental health providers and adequate services that are affordable enough for the people to complete the whole process. As a result, many of these people turn to substance abuse and drugs. According to data from 2007, Humboldt Park had the highest rate of admissions for substance abuse and drugs and was triple the Chicago average. Although Humboldt Park has a decent amount of clinics such as Miles Square Health Center and Access Humboldt Park Family Center, they do not provide the same health care or have the same resources as the bigger hospitals such as Loyola. But the bigger hospital in Humboldt Park is called Humboldt Park Health. And a fun fact about it is that its name was recently changed from Norwegian Hospital to Humboldt Park Health because the hospital wanted to emphasize the community that they serve. Thank you for listening and watching our presentation.
Okay, so hi, my name is Amanda Aguirre and I come from the Garfield Ridge neighborhood.
My name is Estrella and I live in Avalon.
My name's Agwish.
My name is Sam Mackenzie and I live in Pullman.
So our group is profiling the Gage Park neighborhood today. So I decided to do the history part and decided to kind of name a lot of things in the Gage Park area about their history that were really interesting and stood out. So Gage Park was established roughly around 1873. Most of the property in the area was owned by the Gage family. Upon George W. Gage's death in 1875, the park he planned to build in the neighborhood was named in his honor, and so was the neighborhood. The race and ethnicity in the area over the years greatly changed as well. Gage Park was one of the neighborhoods in Chicago that was a landing ground for Poles, Italians, Russian Jews, and many other European immigrants. If you have visited the Gage Park area, you would know that that is not really the case today. According to niche surveys, 91% of the community is now Hispanic. Mark Weber, the owner of a flower shop in the Gage Park neighborhood, said it was a typical Irish neighborhood in 1972. After 40 years of him being there, he's seen the neighborhood become a viable Hispanic neighborhood. He says, "We were all immigrants here at one time." This integration largely affected students in the Gage Park High School. According to Southside Weekly, the integration of the high school was followed by violent attacks on Black students by white students in the 60s and the 70s. Police officers were always at the school to prevent rioting, but they say they never protected Black schools from the white student attackers. And this was a very big issue in the neighborhood around that time. And you can see it with this picture right here with the police officers leaving the school. In 1972, over 1,000 white parents and students boycotted the school until all Black students left to an all-Black school. And you can also see that with this picture here. In response, Black students picketed the school. As of 2020, Gage Park became a part of the National Register of Historic Places as a historic bungalow district. The bungalows provided affordable housing opportunities then and now. Many of the houses were built between 1924 and 1927, and many still stand today. Many, such as these houses pictured here. Between 1910 and 1930, Gage Park was privileged to become a part of the Bungalow Belt, which is a collar of these houses inside the city of Chicago.
I'm doing the physical geography of Gage Park. Gage Park is located on the southwest side of Chicago. Its boundaries canvasses 49th Street to the north, 59th Street to the south, to the west, and Levitt Street to the east, covering about 2.24 square miles. You can mainly find single-family homes, more specifically bungalows, as seen on the left-hand corner, and small apartment buildings throughout the community. Surrounding the houses, you can see 4 parks that are spread out throughout the area. The parks have your typical grass field where you can play soccer, football, baseball, etc., and playgrounds. But one in particular, Gage Park District, has a pool, tennis courts, a football field, and a turf field to play soccer on. Walking along Kedzie Avenue, one of Gage Park's busiest streets, you'll be able to find countless bus stops and a train station, like most Chicago neighborhoods have. You'll also see a recurring pattern of family-owned Mexican restaurants catering to the generally large population of Hispanics in the area. Now, just because there are a lot of Mexican restaurants doesn't mean that that's the only food available. There are a lot of pizza parlors, some Chinese restaurants, and even your average food chain restaurant. There's also LA Fitness for all the people who would like to get a nice workout in. Outside of Kedzie Avenue, one will be able to find some big name industry buildings such as Bright Logistics, a professional trucking company, Amazon Delivery Factory, and the Central Steel and Wire Company, which is a manufacturing company. Gage Park is also home to about 10 schools, making 2 of them high schools, 3 elementary charter schools, and 1 Catholic elementary school, and 4 regular CPS schools. Because of the neighborhood being a predominantly Latinx community, it reflects the lack of diversity in the schools. According to the Illinois Report Card site, one of the 2 high schools located in Gage Park, Solorio Academy, about 94.9% of their student body is Hispanic, making the other 6% biracial. So besides the crime, the lack of diversity is one of the biggest issues that makes Gage Park unique.
I'm doing the demographics of Gage Park. Many people that live in Gage Park feel out of touch with the community. They feel like many people in the neighborhood are reserved and that it can become very dangerous at times. Gage Park is a low-income neighborhood as many people only make about $46,350 per year. We have a population of 91.78% Hispanics, 3.82% whites, 3.82% blacks, 0.52% Asians, and 0.05% others. Real estate agents are moving many Hispanics into this community. They were redlined and not given a chance to move into a better neighborhood, which caused the number of Hispanics in this community to be so high. Many white people moved out of Gage Park, and this was one of the reasons why poverty and violence increased. They took their wealth with them, and with the discrimination that Black and brown people experienced, many of them were forced into poverty by property owners. Most of Gage Park's population will not graduate with a high school diploma. Only 25% graduate high school, and about 8% of the population will obtain a college or associate's degree. The gendered population in Gage Park are both 50% for male and females. Many low-income schools do not offer the best education for the students in the community. This may be a reason for why only 25% of the community will earn a high school diploma. In the story, Child Soldier, they discuss how the military will target low-income schools because they know that a majority of these students will not be fit for college with the education they are getting. In the story, the author says that Chicago's public military academies, along with other schools offering limited educational choices, are located overwhelmingly in lower-income communities of color. All schools with rich curriculums, including magnet schools, regional residentials, classical schools, IB programs, and college prep schools, are placed in lighter, wealthier communities and in gentrifying areas. In Gage Park High School, they have an Army Junior ROTC camp. Many of the students living in Gage Park are being held back from their academic potential, and the military is taking advantage of it.
Okay, so right now I'll be talking about economic characteristics. In Gage Park, the average income is about $41,182. making Gage Park's overall income less than the middle class of Chicago, which is $58,247. Because of this, 33% of Gage Park receives income support. Normal jobs in Gage Park consists of custodial workers, package sorters, warehouse workers, store cashiers, and fast food workers. The unemployment rate is 10.5%, while in all of Chicago is 7.3% and in Illinois 5.3%. This is a substantial difference. The average sale price for a new home is $245,000.
In these graphs that we show here, this one is the most interesting because it shows the household incomes for Gage Park in 2020. And the lightest blue shows the share of households with income of 100,000, and this is for Chicago. And in the Gage Park neighborhood, you can see is greatly different. It's less. And then the darker blue represents the share of households with incomes less than $25,000.
The next thing we will be talking about is social problems. Crime and violence in Gage Park is one of the most severe in all of Chicago. Violence in every block of this neighborhood means many people are too afraid of leaving their house or living in Gage Park. One incident contributing to the fear was the massacre of 6 family members. The family was beaten, shot, and stabbed to death. The murder left Gage Park shaken, afraid to be next on the news. As well as this, a significant childhood memory by a woman who grew up in Gage Park was when a teenager was shot while riding a bike by Chicago CVS. Murders happen commonly, making public areas like parks not in use. Due to the issue of many children and adults not using public areas, the spaces soon became deserted with lack of modernization. Due to the lack of modernization, Gage Park is consistently left behind in resources, specifically COVID-19 vaccinations. Vaccinations were first sent out to Northside neighborhoods despite a substantial amount of residents dying from the virus. Many people from Gage Park fear COVID will linger for them to deal with when the rest of wealthy Chicago has moved on. The city continues to fund neighborhoods in the North Side that have higher income than lower income neighborhoods like Gage Park. There is not nearly as much economic development in Gage Park due to location and business. Tourists and locals from Chicago do not typically go to Gage Park, so there's a lack of funding. Instead of the city tending to the dangers of living in Gage and helping to make the community safer, Gage Park continues to be set behind when this neighborhood needs funding the most. A community named the Gage Park Latinx Council, however, is a network for students to make change for future generations in Gage Park. This community is used to advocate students a higher education and become their true selves instead of hiding in fear. Gage Park Latinx Council helps residents speak about healing mental health from past traumas and issues they have faced. Not only this, but the community also provides food and meal distribution. The Gage Park residents benefit because of the lack of help Chicago's government does not provide. In this slide, you'll see in the top left, it says from 2 days ago, Gage Park, 2 shot, 1 fatally in Gage Park. 4 weeks ago, a man found fatally shot. 2 days ago, no bail for man accused of carrying out sinister plan to kill witness in a murder case. And 4 days ago, a police looking to identify suspect in Gage Park for sexual assault. And in the middle, you'll see the home of where two people killed the 6 members of the family. And in the bottom, you'll see a whole bunch of people coming to the house in memory of the people that was shot.
Thank you for listening to our slideshow. We hope you enjoyed it.
I'd like to thank everybody for listening to these wonderful presentations. I really feel that I've seen a lot of growth and development in our students, and I feel the presentations were amazing, and they really show a lot of sociological thought going on, in your evaluation and description of neighborhoods. So I was just really impressed, and I want to thank everybody for seeing this and watching this and listening to this, and hopefully you a little bit about two neighborhoods, because I learned a lot. Thanks so much.